Do you remember about a decade or so ago, in the post-Bush years, there's a common thing, a talking point on the left, promoted particularly by like late-night comedians of the time, like Bill Maher and Jon Stewart, of the notion that Republicans are voting against their self-interest by supporting, the tax cuts on the rich and all that kind of stuff. Um, it's not entirely an unvalid argument, albeit there's a blind spot in it, and so far as you're assuming that the person like making those sorts of voting decisions are basing their priorities on money. But the idea behind it, the joke, the punchline, was that, well, apparently like Republicans must all secretly think that they're going to strike it rich one day, and so they better make sure that those rich people taxes are low so that when they're rich, they get to have low taxes. Once again, it's a little bit of convoluted reasoning. However, one could take that reasoning and point it in another direction. Whereas, do people on the left all think they're going to be congressman or president one day? And I'm regarding that around the current embrace of political correctness. Now, political correctness can take all sorts of different shapes and forms. Can be applied to any side of the political spectrum. It's a device used by those in power. And that's the only people that it serves. It's a thing that for, at least for here in the States, it's a thing for politicians and businessmen and lawyers. Even religious figures, although less so much than perhaps in the past. But basically, anybody who has need to be able to talk in roundabout circles that sound like they're saying positive things while at the same time being completely non-committal. That is the function of politically correct talk. And this society-wide embrace of it, really, you're not serving yourself. But if you're a small individual at the bottom of the pyramid who's got no intention or chance of crawling up that pyramid to get higher up in the hierarchy, then there's no need for you to be politically correct. Aside from the fact that it's politically convenient to those above you if you go ahead and adhere to these things, both for it makes you easier to control, it makes you easier to categorize, and insofar as people will blame leadership for the actions of their followers, it keeps you in line so that you don't spoil your dear leader's reputation. But it doesn't actually do you any good. It's kind of against your own interests there at the bottom. Like a foundational old thinking of the left was the whole we're going to create a freer society and all that kind of stuff. But a society where we're constantly having to pause and double check our language before we can express ourselves is not a freer and more open society. I mean, that's just how it is. And it makes us all liars, which is, like if you're going to be putting laws into place, especially around ideas such as misinformation and disinformation, maybe don't do that when your entire society is based around creating false illusions of moral propriety, while constantly disguising and not acknowledging your own actual thoughts and feelings. The argument that political correctness is just being polite, we already had something for that. It was called etiquette. And we could still go back to practicing etiquette if we wanted to be a polite society. Political correctness is not being polite. In fact, it's often, in its own way, designed to be rude towards pre-selected, predetermined, designated bad guys. The people that society is allowed to vent their negative frustrations and feelings at, so that they don't express them at something that's politically sacrosanct, shall we say. And it just, in the long term, it's not leading to a healthy society. We might live longer and we might live in greater luxury than ever before, but clearly there's a malaise in the heart of the modern human that seeks some sort of release. And considering that we're a violent apex predator that's been bred by thousands of years of warfare to be really good at fighting, I don't know. There might have been better ways we could have structured all this without frustrating everyone internally, and making everyone secretly hate and fear each other. That's another, byproduct of endemic political correctness. Is you're paranoid. You're paranoid of being found out. What if someone overhears you accidentally say nipple in public? Oh my God. How terrible. Kind of a thing. Creates hypocrisies, especially when we carve out certain subsections of society and give them an exemption for their what kind of politically correct speech is expected from them. Humans don't like being treated unfairly because we are primates, and primates don't like being treated unfairly. Go to a one of those big wilderness preserve things here in the States where like people who've have pet exotic animals as pets, and they get older and they can no longer have them in their homes. Well, go to one of those preserves they have for chimpanzees and bring a birthday cake and try to only give that birthday cake to only one of the chimpanzees and see what happens. The other chimpanzees are not going to like that, and they don't have all these human filters to control their emotions like we do. They will literally rip you apart. They won't even attack the chimp that got the cake. They'll attack the person who gave that chimp the cake because they are smart enough to understand that is the source of the unfairness. So be very careful when you're dealing out unfairness to the masses. They're not as dumb as you might think they are. We're living through a period of complete failure of system management. Our political leaders, our entertainment leaders, our business leaders, our religious leaders, for the last, not just a few years, I mean, this has been building up for a time. It's just all really crystallized since the beginning of the pandemic and is further solidifying and possibly reaching its shattering point here over all the Ukraine stuff. If you've been watching YouTube, which I imagine you are since you're watching this video, and you pay attention to any of the political channels, there's some kind of weird stuff going on. I would dare say that the right wing is at real close to fracturing over the whole how to reconcile Putin rhetoric. Kind of a thing. I think, in regards to everything, in most cases, politicians and political correct necessities will urge people to come out and give some sort of policy position on new situations way too soon after they have occurred, so that you can really make an assessment about what you're doing. Vis-a-vis the situation in Eastern Europe right now, none of us over here on this side of the planet where I live really know what the fuck's going on. Even our politicians don't really know. The conflicts of the information that we are allowed to see and that manages to make it over here does not allow anyone to make any sort of actual honest, informed opinion. There's a lot of grandstanding, though. Overnight, suddenly we have all this Ukrainian historical expertise just out of nowhere for a country that up until 5 minutes ago we always just considered to be part of Russia and part of Russian civilization. But no, the fiercely independent spirit of the Ukrainian people is something that we've long cherished here in America. Or some bullshit like that, or vice versa. Well, Putin had every right NATO was threatening him. Like, really, was it? Was NATO planning on invading Russia? Was that the fear? Was that a serious concern? You know, like just complete and total systemic failure of leadership around the planet. They've just all been in this constant scramble of we got to maintain the illusion of control and power. They don't care about people further down the power structure anymore, even though they talk a lot about how much they care about us all. You know, all these years of, like all the pandemic stuff, like they're so concerned, just out of nowhere. They're just so concerned about saving human lives. They don't want us to get sick. They want our old people to live on in their nice retirement communities that we've set up, i.e. homeless camps. Like we're just really concerned about the human condition and making sure people are healthy and happy and safe. And then immediately threaten them all with nuclear annihilation. Like what was the point? How, like all those lies we saved with masks and the vaccines? What was the point if like a year later we blow up the fucking planet? And all because we're like in a rush to fucking like declare like whose side we're on. I'm on neither the Russian nor the Ukrainian side, shall we say. I will say that like Putin has made like a terrible mistake, terribly miscalculated the outcome by doing this level of military invasion. That's all I'll say about it. Like, does that make him evil? Like, good and evil don't even fucking exist, people. So no, he's no more good or evil than I am or you are. But it's just barely a week into the situation, and whether or not it may be propaganda. The thing about propaganda is just because something's being used as propaganda doesn't mean it's not true. And so we very well could be taking the side of Ukrainian neo-Nazis to put up a wall against Russian white supremacy. I don't know. That's why it's best to maybe we should all collectively hold back and pause a moment before we make a decision and make a policy point and decide whose side we're on, if any. This is not our fucking fight. But we're a species that's been trained and bred for war, and we're very bored. Legally, we're not really allowed to fight each other. You can get arrested just for slapping somebody. There's nowhere left on the planet to really explore and conquer. Wars are real selective on how they're fought, and they're not really fought the way they used to be or for the same kind of goals. Once upon a time, if you spend trillions of dollars to go and invade a country on the other side of the planet, destroy its government, take out its military, you also will start colonizing it and bring in your own people and all that kind of stuff. But instead, we just we go through the first half of all that, and then we tell them, okay, now here's your new government, and you're going to vote for each other, and here, have some sandwiches, and just send us checks, and we'll be by to check up on you every Tuesday. It's kind of alien to the human condition, and as much as we really want to lean into the idea that everything is nurture, there is the imprint of nature. And so as much as we might be in denial about it, especially because of political correctness, I think deep down, on some level, we're all rather excited about what's going on in Ukraine. War, real war between big, large countries with evenly matched weapon systems, not just large countries picking on dirt farmers in the Middle East. With glory. Our inner Klingons, their just hearts are all just a pitter-patter at the thought, but we can never admit it. And so we got to just, condemn it, and on one hand, while on the other hand, we passing them guns and jets. With the other hand, while no one's looking. Also just in terms of just some of the weapon sales and shit, also the banking shit that we're doing to them. We had just experimented with, oh, well, we can just cut people off from banking if they're doing shit we don't like, and they'll just, be forced to have to give up, or, they're just going to be homeless and die. But it's a great way to execute somebody publicly. You can publicly shame them, and you can set them up that they will just slowly die. But you don't have to see it. You don't have to get your hands dirty. No one has. You didn't actually really execute them. We didn't take Roseanne Barr and haul her up, onto a stockade and cut her head off in front of a cheering crowd of vehement anti-racism. No, we just got her to a point where she can't make any money, because the thing that we really wanted to do is because of Roseanne tweeting something vaguely construed as racist in the middle of the night, she now gets to live homeless under a bridge as an old lady. Because we're a good moral people, don't you know? We're a fucking horror show. And we are in denial about it. Because we have this idea that we must pretend to be good. I think a lot of this is just because of an attempt to train children. We don't want children to realize the kinds of damage they can do, because children are fucking sinister. Intelligent animals are sinister. The idea that like humans are somehow unique, and are the fact that we'll take joy from doing damage to other things and killing and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, that ain't only us. That's not only us at all. Oh my God. We're one of the only animals that actually can exert any sort of emotional control over that kind of shit. Show any remorse and regret. As my old thing about, it's like somewhat the like kind of response to feminism of like, look, girls, I get it, but I don't know how to tell you this. You got born onto rape planet. Every animal on this planet does this shit. You're lucky that you're amongst one of the only species that can choose not to. But if you were a dolphin or an otter or any other number of really cute little fuzzy animals that you really just love to adore, oh my God, what a terrible time you'd actually would be having. The same applies to the whole like, only humans hunt animals for sport. No, apparently you've never heard of dolphins and killer whales or large cats, wolves. Just a bit, like pretty much anything, any intelligent predator has a real sinister streak. Birds, even the non-predatory birds, they're fucking evil, man. Like evil, like just made out of hate. We really don't give ourselves enough credit for how chill we are, because of the fact that we are the one animal that can exert self-control. And so perhaps if there's any positive angle to trying to create a politically incorrect environment where we lie to ourselves about our human nature, it's to try to convince the younglings, our wee little precious babies, to not grow up to be psycho killers. But at the same time, we have no outlet for this. We've created a human zoo that doesn't give us a field to go roam around and stretch our muscles in. And so we take these opportunities to sit around the sidelines and vicariously go to war. We'll let the Ukrainians go to war on our behalf, and we'll cut off Russian banking and make a big show of arming the Ukrainians to the teeth with our jets and weapons. There's no way that could backfire by being that just blatantly obvious about it. It's cowardly. I still maintain that as much as we like to puff out our chest about how brave it is to be an American, we're actually a pretty chicken shit society that only likes to pick on the weaker, and whenever we're faced with a real fight, we haven't even we like to pat ourselves over the world wars. We were fucking forced into those fucking world wars, kicking and screaming, so to say. We didn't just up and just jump up and get up from the tables and run off to go fucking fight Nazi Germany and Japan. It wasn't until it was really oh, they're fucking bombing us, I guess we gotta do something. And ever since then, it's just, yeah, like, even the hint of fighting a nation that can actually hold its own against us. Oh, like, we'll poo-poo around that and dance around that. But tiny little country with barely any air force, an old ass fucking ordnance. Yeah, we got no problem fucking running our tanks up into there. At least, unlike the Russians, we were smart enough to get a whole bunch of other countries to sign on board and put their reputations at stake before we go into places like Afghanistan and Iraq, so that you don't have this thing like Russia's facing right now, where they kind of did this without getting any sort of global approval. Having Belarus on your side isn't really enough, guys. But, all this banking shit, smarter countries are going to be like, oh, if we defy these cats at all, they're just going to completely unplug us from this economy that they sold us into joining. Maybe we shouldn't do that. And so we might finally get that big, great parallel economy that we've always dreamed of. We'll see. Who knows? I don't. Stay waspinated.